I was holding the key to a $950,000 yacht, the wedding gift I planned for my daughter, when I received a text from an unknown number. "Don't go. Run now." I thought it was a sick joke until I called back. The voice on the other end belonged to someone I hadn't spoken to in 15 years. What she revealed in that call destroyed everything I believed about my daughter's future husband. Welcome, and thank you for being here with me today on Revenge Dad. Before we go further, where are you watching from? Drop your city or your country in the comments below. I'd love to know who's in this with me. A quick note, this story contains fictionalized elements crafted for reflection and entertainment. Any resemblance to specific names or places is coincidental, but everything it teaches you is worth keeping. The keys were cold against my palm. I stood at the end of the dock at Marina del Rey, holding a small mahogany box the size of a jewelry case, and looked out at the water. The late afternoon sun was doing what it always does in October, in Los Angeles, turning everything gold and dishonest, making even the ordinary look like something worth keeping. The yacht was moored 40 feet away, gleaming white against the blue of the Pacific. Her hull freshly waxed, her name not yet painted on the stern because I hadn't decided what to call her. $950,000, and I was going to give her away. My name is Charles Whitmore. I am 65 years old. I own 12 commercial buildings and residential properties across Los Angeles, and I have not taken a vacation in 11 years. I started this city with a hard hat, a pair of steel-toed boots, and a sleeping bag. I kept in the back of a 1989 Ford pickup because there were stretches of 2 and 3 weeks where I couldn't afford a motel room, and the construction sites were closer than my apartment anyway. I ate gas station sandwiches for breakfast and told myself every single morning that this was temporary, that one day I would stand somewhere like this on a dock in the California sun and look at something beautiful that I had earned. I just never imagined I'd be standing here alone. Emily was getting engaged in 6 days, my daughter 28 years old, with her mother's dark eyes and her mother's way of tilting her head when she was about to say something. Important was going to marry a man named Ryan Mitchell at a party I was paying for, and I had decided 3 weeks ago that I would give her this yacht as my gift. Not because Emily had ever asked for a yacht, not because she needed one, but because I had missed her 8th birthday, her 10th birthday, her high school graduation, her college move-in day, and the afternoon she got her driver's license, and every time I had missed something, I had told myself I would make it up to her later. Later had become a very expensive word over the years. I turned the mahogany box over in my hands. Inside it was a single key on a silver ring, and I had practiced what I was going to say when I handed it to her. Something about new beginnings. Something about how much her mother would have loved to be there. Eleanor had been gone 10 years now, pancreatic cancer 4 months from diagnosis to the end, and there were still mornings I reached for the phone to call her before I remembered. The water slapped gently against the dock pilings. A pelican landed on a nearby post and regarded me with the flat prehistoric patience that pelicans have always had. My phone buzzed in my jacket pocket. I assumed it was Diana Caldwell, my attorney, calling about the final paperwork on the Westwood property. I pulled the phone out without looking at the screen and answered. "Whitmore." There was a pause. Then a text notification appeared. I had answered the wrong alert. It wasn't a call at all. It was a message from a number I didn't recognize, a 714 area code I couldn't place. I looked at the screen. 4 words. That was all. "Don't go. Run now." I read it twice. Then I read it a 3rd time, my thumb pressing the screen harder than necessary, as if pressure might change the meaning. The pelican took off from the piling and wheeled out over the water, and I watched it go because my brain needed somewhere to put itself while it processed what my eyes had just seen. I called the number back immediately. It rang 4 times. 5, 6. I was already constructing the reasonable explanation. Wrong number, some kind of spam. A misdirected message meant for someone else when the line connected. The breathing on the other end came first. Shallow and uneven, the breathing of someone who had been crying recently and was trying very hard not to start again. "Hello?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Who is this Charles?" The voice was a woman's, low, careful, like she was measuring every syllable before releasing it. "It's Linda Mitchell." The mahogany box slipped in my fingers. I caught it with both hands, pressing it against my chest, and felt my heart hammering against the wood. Linda Mitchell. I had not heard that name spoken aloud in 15 years. I had not spoken it myself in just as long, but I knew it the way you know the address of the house you grew up in, not because you think about it, but because it is simply part of the architecture of who you are. Linda. My throat tightened around her name. How did you get this number? Your company website? Her voice cracked at the edges. Whitmore Properties. It's listed on the contact page. I've had it written on a piece of paper in my kitchen drawer for 3 years, Charles. I told myself I would never use it. I told myself it wasn't my place. She stopped, drew a breath that shook on the way in. And then I heard what I heard, and I couldn't just... Linda. I cut her off gently because I could hear her spiraling, and I needed her to hold together long enough to tell me what had sent her to a piece of paper she'd been keeping for 3 years. Talk to me, slowly. What did you hear? The water moved beneath the dock. The sun kept doing its dishonest golden thing. Somewhere behind me, a boat engine turned over and rumbled to life, and I pressed my free hand flat against my sternum, because my chest had started to feel like something was sitting on it. It's about Ryan, she said. Ryan, her son, my daughter's fiancé, the man I had shaken hands with 100 times over 3 years, whose easy smile and firm handshake and apparent devotion to Emily had made me cautiously grudgingly the way I did. Everything began to believe that maybe my daughter had found someone worth trusting. What about Ryan? I asked. Linda Mitchell made a sound that wasn't quite a word, something that came from somewhere below language, from the place where a mother goes when she has to say something that cannot be taken back once it's said. He is not who you think he is, Charles, she said. He is not who any of us thought he was. And if you give him that boat... Her voice broke completely, then splitting open like something that had been under pressure for a very long time. If you give him that boat and let Emily walk into this marriage without knowing what I know, I will never forgive myself. Not after everything you did for my family. Not after Frank. My hand tightened around the mahogany box until my knuckles went white against the wood. Frank. She had said Frank's name. And just like that, 25 years collapsed into the space of a single heartbeat. And I was back on a construction site in East Los Angeles, and the scaffolding was coming down, and there was a man trapped underneath it, and I had a choice to make. Tell me everything, I said. She told me about Frank first. I think she needed to start there, not because I didn't know the story, but because it was the foundation of everything she was about to say. And Linda Mitchell was the kind of woman who built things carefully before she asked you to stand on them. 25 years ago, she began, her voice still unsteady, but finding its footing word by word. My husband was trapped under 40 feet of collapsed scaffolding on a construction site in East Los Angeles. There were 14 other men on that site. 11 of them ran, 2 of them froze, and 1 of them went back in. I pressed my back against a dock piling and closed my eyes. I remembered the sound before anything else. That particular groan of metal giving way, not a bang, not an explosion, but a long, reluctant tearing. Like the scaffolding was sorry about what it was doing. I remembered the dust cloud that swallowed half the block. I remembered standing at the edge of the collapse zone, watching it settle, and hearing something underneath the debris. A voice. Weak, but there. I went in because I couldn't hear that voice and walk away. It was not heroism. It was just the thing my body did before my brain could argue. Frank Mitchell had been pinned under a steel crossbeam and 2 sections of plywood decking. His right leg was broken in 2 places. His shoulder was dislocated. He was conscious and he was terrified, and he kept saying his wife's name over and over, Linda. Linda, Linda, like it was the only prayer he knew. I talked to him while I worked. I told him my name. I told him I had a daughter at home who needed her father to come back without any extra holes in him, and that meant I needed him to hold on so we could both get out of there together. Getting him out took 40 minutes. A second section of scaffolding came down while we were still inside the collapse zone, and a piece of rebar caught me across the lower left leg with enough force to fracture the fibula in 2 places. I didn't feel it until we were outside. I didn't feel much of anything until I saw Linda Mitchell running across the site toward her husband, her face a map of every terrible thing she had imagined in the last 40 minutes. And then I sat down on the ground because my leg had decided it was finished holding me up. "You never let us repay you," Linda said over the phone, her voice thick with something that had been sitting in her chest for 25 years. "Frank tried. I tried. You always said you were just doing what anyone would do. But Charles, we both knew that wasn't true. We both knew what you gave up to bring him home. 4 months of light construction and a walking boot, I said. It wasn't nothing, but it was everything to me. Her voice broke on the last word, split cleanly in two, and I heard her press her hand over the phone for a moment. When she came back, she was holding herself together through what sounded like sheer determination. It was everything Charles. Frank walked our son down the aisle at Ryan's cousin's wedding 3 years later. Frank was there when Ryan graduated college. Frank was there because of you. And now I have to call you and tell you that my son, my boy, is going to hurt your daughter if you don't stop him. The dock shifted slightly beneath my feet as a boat passed in the channel. I gripped the piling behind me and made myself breathe. Tell me what you saw, I said. Exactly. Start from the beginning. Linda pulled in a long, shaking breath. It started about 2 years ago. Small things at first, Ryan coming home late, taking calls in another room, being vague about where he'd been and who he'd been with. I told myself it was stress. His business, the markets, the pressure of being in his 30s and trying to prove himself. I told myself I was being a nervous mother. She paused. Then, about 8 months ago, I started hearing things. Not full conversations, pieces, fragments through a closed door or across a parking lot when he didn't know I was there. What kind of things? Financial things, numbers I didn't understand, names of buildings, names I didn't recognize. Her voice dropped lower, as if even now she was afraid of being overheard. And then one night, this was maybe 3 months ago, I came home early from my sister's house, and Ryan was on the phone in the kitchen. He didn't hear me come in. I stood in the hallway and I listened. Charles, God forgive me, I stood there, and I listened to my own son. My hand found the mahogany box again, without me telling it to. My fingers pressed into the carved edges. What did he say? I asked. He said, Linda stopped, started again. He said, marry Emily and everything falls into our hands. The yacht is just the beginning. And then he laughed. He laughed Charles, like it was the easiest thing in the world. The air went out of me like I'd been hit. For a moment I couldn't speak. My throat had closed around something sharp, and I stood there on that dock in the October sunshine and felt the world rearrange itself into a shape I didn't recognize. I thought about the last time I had seen Ryan 2 weeks ago at a dinner at Emily's apartment, when he had poured my wine before his own and asked me 3 thoughtful questions about the commercial real estate market, and looked at my daughter like she was the most important thing in any room he'd ever been in. I had thought this man loves her. I had actually thought that. There's more, Linda said, and her voice had gone very quiet, the way voices go when they are carrying something almost too heavy to hold. After I heard that phone call, I couldn't leave it alone. I know I should have come to you sooner. I know that. But he's my son, Charles, and I kept hoping I had misunderstood, that there was some explanation that I was reading into something innocent and making it into a monster. Her breath hitched. So I went through his things, his desk, his filing cabinet. I'm not proud of it, but I found something. What did you find? A list. Her voice was barely above a whisper now. A printed list, several pages with handwritten notes in the margins. Charles, it was your properties. All of them. Every building you own, with the addresses, the estimated market values, the mortgage status, the names of your tenants. And next to each one in Ryan's handwriting, there were notes, percentages, timelines, words I didn't fully understand, but that looked like he was planning something. Like he had been planning it for a long time. The mahogany box pressed hard against my palm. $950,000 of teak and fiberglass and polished chrome bobbed gently in the slip 40 feet away. And I stood there and felt something cold move through me from the top of my skull to the soles of my feet. This was not impulsive. This was not opportunistic. A man who keeps printed lists with handwritten annotations does not wake up one morning and decide to be a thief. He studies, he prepares, he is patient. Linda, I said, and my voice came out very steady, steadier than I had any right to expect. How long has Ryan been with Emily? 3 years, she said. They met in June of 2021. And how long has he been having financial trouble? The late nights, the private phone calls, the behavior that changed. She went quiet on the other end of the line. I could hear her breathing slow and careful, and I understood that she already knew what I was asking, and that the answer was sitting in her chest like a stone. 3 years, she finally said. Charles, it's been exactly 3 years. I looked out at the yacht, at the gift I had bought to say, I'm sorry for 35 years of absence. At $950,000, I had been about to hand to a man who had apparently spent 3 years studying exactly how to take it. "Thank you for calling me Linda," I said. "I need you to stay close to your phone. Can you do that?" "Yes." Her voice was wet with crying she was refusing to do. "Charles, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry it's my son. I'm so sorry I didn't call sooner." "You called?" I said. "That's what matters. You called." I ended the call, slipped the phone back into my jacket pocket, and stood there for a long moment, with my hand pressed flat against the mahogany box, feeling my own heartbeat knock against the wood. Then I scrolled to a number I hadn't used in 6 years and pressed call. It rang twice. "Revengestories," said the voice on the other end. "Marcus," I said. "It's Charles Whitmore. I need you to pull the background file you ran on Ryan Mitchell 3 years ago. I know you still have it. You keep everything." I paused. "And then I need you to go much, much deeper." I had 45 minutes between hanging up with Marcus and walking through the door of Nobu in Beverly Hills, and I used every one of them sitting in my car in the Marina del Rey parking lot, doing the thing I had learned to do over 40 years of difficult negotiations. I put my face back together. It is a skill, not a gift. You practice it the way you practice anything else, badly at first. Then adequately then, well enough that people stop being able to read you when you don't want them to. I had used it in boardrooms and courtrooms, and twice at the bedsides of people I loved who were dying and needed me to look strong. I sat in the front seat of my car with both hands on the steering wheel, and I breathed and I told myself, you do not know enough yet to react. You have a phone call and a list in a drawer and a lot of questions. That is not evidence. That is not a verdict. Get through tonight and let Marcus do his work. By the time I pulled out of the parking lot, I was Charles Whitmore again, real estate developer, proud father, man who had absolutely nothing on his mind except how happy he was that his daughter was getting engaged on Saturday. I had checked Ryan Mitchell's background 3 years ago. This was not something I advertised. I did it with every significant person who entered Emily's life, the same way I ran due diligence on business partners and contractors. Marcus had pulled the standard package: credit history, criminal record, employment verification, basic financial health. Everything had come back clean. Ryan's company was listed as operational. His credit was solid. No criminal record, no civil judgments, no red flags. I had been satisfied. I had told myself I was being a good father by checking, and then I had let myself believe the results because I wanted to believe them, because it was easier to believe them. That thought sat in my chest like a coal as I handed my keys to the valet outside Nobu. Emily was already there when I walked in, sitting across from Ryan at a corner table near the window, laughing at something he had just said. She was wearing a blue dress the color of deep water, and she had her mother's way of laughing, head tilted back slightly, completely unguarded, like she had never learned to protect herself from happiness. My chest tightened so hard I had to stop walking for half a second and collect myself before she saw me. She spotted me, and her face opened up the way it always did, wide and warm and entirely genuine. Emily had never learned to be strategic with her feelings. She felt everything at full volume and made no apologies for it. "Dad." She stood and hugged me, and I held on a beat longer than usual, breathing in the scent of her shampoo. Something with vanilla in it, the same kind she had used since college. "You look tired. Are you okay?" "Long day," I said, pulling back and smiling at her. "You look beautiful." Ryan stood and extended his hand. His grip was firm and dry, his eye contact direct and easy. He was a good-looking man, dark hair, strong jaw, the kind of effortless confidence that either came from genuine security or from years of practicing it in mirrors. I had never been able to tell which. "Charles." He shook my hand and clapped his other palm over the top of it, the two-handed shake that was supposed to communicate warmth. "Thank you for making time tonight. I know your schedule." "Always time for family," I said. "That's the rule." We sat. I ordered sparkling water. Ryan ordered a Japanese whiskey that cost $40 a glass without hesitation, which I noted the way I noted everything now, cataloging, filing, refusing to draw conclusions until I had more information. The conversation moved the way these conversations always moved, easy and pleasant, and slightly performative, all three of us playing our assigned roles. Emily talked about the engagement party venue. Ryan asked me about the Westwood acquisition with what appeared to be genuine interest. I talked about the property market, about interest rates, about the way commercial real estate in Los Angeles was shifting, And Ryan nodded and asked follow-up questions that were just specific enough to sound informed. And then somewhere between the edamame and the black cod, he said something that made the back of my neck go cold. He was talking about the potential for mixed-use development in the Arts District, and he mentioned casually, the way you mention something you assume everyone already knows, a specific detail about the ground lease structure on my building at 412 East 6th Street. Not the general concept, the specific terms. The remaining years on the underlying land lease, the renewal option language, the cap rate implications, if the lease wasn't extended before the next assessment cycle. That information was not public. It was not in any filing, any disclosure, any document that existed outside my company's internal records. I had never discussed it with Ryan. I had never discussed it with Emily. I kept my face completely neutral. I reached for my water glass and took a slow sip and said, "You've done your homework on the Arts District." Ryan smiled. "Always good to understand your future father-in-law's business. I figure if I'm going to be part of this family, I should understand what the family has built." "Smart thinking," I said. Under the table, my right hand found my thigh and pressed down hard fingernails, digging into the fabric of my trousers. I needed something to absorb what was moving through me so it wouldn't show on my face. Emily reached across the table and touched Ryan's arm with the easy affection of someone who had stopped noticing she was doing it. "He's been reading everything he can find about commercial real estate for a year," she said, looking at me with a mixture of pride and amusement. "I keep finding these dense market reports on his nightstand." "Due diligence," Ryan said, and he winked at me. "I learned that from the best." He raised his whiskey glass in a small toast. I raised my water glass and smiled. The dinner lasted another 90 minutes. Ryan was charming and attentive and said all the right things. He poured the last of the sake for Emily before taking any for himself. He asked the server her name and used it every time he ordered. He put his hand over Emily's when she laughed too hard at her own joke and got embarrassed about it, and the look on his face was so warm, so apparently genuine, that for one terrible moment I felt doubt move through me like a cold current. What if I was wrong? What if Linda had misheard? What if the list in the drawer had an innocent explanation? Then I remembered the ground lease terms on East 6th Street coming out of his mouth, like he'd read them off a private document. Because he had. He must have. Someone had given him that information, and that someone worked inside my company. I embraced Emily on the sidewalk outside, after dinner, holding her tight enough that she laughed and said, "Dad, I can breathe, you know." I kissed the top of her head and told her I'd see her Saturday. I shook Ryan's hand one more time. He squeezed it with that same firm, confident grip and said, "Saturday's going to be a great day, Charles, for all of us." "It certainly will be," I said. I waited until the valet brought my car. I waited until I was out of sight of the restaurant. Then I drove to Malibu with both hands on the wheel and the radio off. And when I pulled into my garage and cut the engine, I sat in the dark for a long time with the mahogany box on the passenger seat beside me. My phone buzzed on the center console. "Marcus, initial findings ready. Come to the office tonight or I can send encrypted file. Your call. But, Charles, you're going to want to sit down for this one." Marcus Webb's office was on the 3rd floor of a narrow building on Santa Monica Boulevard in West Hollywood, sandwiched between a tax preparation service and a photography studio that appeared to operate exclusively at night. The elevator was broken as it had been every time I'd visited in 6 years, and I climbed the stairs with one hand on the railing and the mahogany box tucked under my arm because I hadn't been able to make myself leave it in the car. It was 11:47 when I walked through his door. Marcus was at his desk, jacket off sleeves rolled to the elbows, 3 manila folders spread open in front of him, and a 4th stacked on top of a pile that reached his elbow. He had been a cop for 15 years before he went private LAPD, robbery, homicide, the kind of work that teaches you to read a room before you fully entered it. He looked up when I came in and studied my face for exactly 2 seconds, the way men like him always do, and whatever he found there made him stand up and go directly to the credenza behind his desk, where he kept a bottle of Maker's Mark. He poured 2 glasses without asking. "Sit down, Charles," he said. I sat. I put the mahogany box on the corner of his desk. Marcus set a glass in front of me, took his own, and lowered himself back into his chair with the careful movement of a man whose knees had been making complaints for years. "How much of this do you already know?" he asked. "Enough to know I don't know nearly enough," I said. "Tell me from the beginning." Marcus opened the top folder. "Mitchell Capital Ventures, Ryan's investment company." He's had it for 3 years, registered in Delaware as a limited liability company. He turned the folder so I could see the documents. Delaware registration is legal and common. Businesses incorporate there all the time because the state has favorable tax treatment and privacy protections. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. He paused. Except that when you look for what Mitchell Capital Ventures actually does, what it invests in, what it manages, what it has ever bought or sold, you find nothing. No operating history, no disclosed investments, no employees on payroll, no office address that exists at any physical location. I set my whiskey down. It's a shell. It's a shell, Marcus confirmed. A very well-maintained one. The website is professional. The LinkedIn page has testimonials I'm still running down, whether those are real people or fabricated profiles, but my gut says fabricated. He's paid for the appearance of legitimacy without any of the substance. He closed the first folder and opened the second. Now, here's where it gets ugly. He slid a document across the desk. It was a summary sheet, numbers arranged in columns, and even before I picked it up, I could see the totals were not small. Ryan Mitchell has $2.3 million in outstanding personal debt, Marcus said. Not business debt, personal. It's spread across multiple sources, 4 private lenders, 2 of which are what I'd call institutional gray market, meaning they operate in the space between legal lending and something considerably less comfortable. The other 2 are, he stopped and picked up his whiskey. The other 2 are connected to underground gambling operations. I looked up from the document. Underground casinos, private gaming clubs, Marcus said. Beverly Hills has had a quiet ecosystem of them for 30 years. High-end clientele invitation. Only no cameras, no paper trail if they can help it. Under California law, running one is a misdemeanor at minimum and a felony if the sums are large enough. Ryan has been a regular at 2 of them for the past 18 months. He tapped the document. The $2.3 million is what he currently owes. From what I can piece together from payment records and the testimony of one source who asked not to be named, he's already paid back close to $400,000 over the past year, and he's been paying with money that has no traceable legitimate source. My chest felt like something heavy had been set on it and left there. He's been gambling with borrowed money, I said, and losing. Consistently, Marcus said. Whatever Ryan Mitchell's gifts are, Charles cards and sports betting are not among them. He took a sip of his bourbon. Now, the debt has a deadline. My source tells me the primary creditor, a man named Victor Crane, who I'll come back to, has given Ryan 90 days after the engagement to begin making significant payments. 90 days. You do the math on what that timeline means relative to your daughter's engagement party. I did the math. I had already done it on the drive over. The engagement party was Saturday. 90 days from Saturday put the deadline in mid-January, long enough to get married, long enough to begin accessing whatever Ryan planned to access. Tell me about his reputation, I said. The articles, the interviews, I've seen them. Emily showed me a piece in some business magazine 18 months ago. Marcus's expression shifted, not quite a smile, but something in that neighborhood, except there was nothing funny about it. He reached into the third folder and pulled out a single page. Prestige Image Group, West Hollywood. They specialize in what they call executive reputation and management. What that means in practice is they create the digital footprint of a successful person for clients who need that footprint to exist. He slid the page across. Ryan paid them $30,000 18 months ago for a complete package, 4 planted articles in small to mid-sized business publications, a fully built-out LinkedIn presence with manufactured connection. History 2, podcast appearances on shows that exist primarily to sell this service, and 1 print interview in a regional business magazine. He leaned back in his chair. The company he appears to have founded and successfully run, it's the same shell. Mitchell Capital Ventures. The articles describe it as thriving. It is not thriving. It has never done a single dollar of legitimate business. I picked up my whiskey glass, put it down again without drinking. My hand wasn't steady enough to trust. Emily doesn't know any of this, I said. It wasn't a question. No, Marcus said. From everything I can see, she has no idea. She met a man who presented himself as successful, attentive, and completely devoted to her. As far as she knew, she had every reason to believe him. He paused and his voice went a degree quieter. She's not naive, Charles. She's just trusting. There's a difference and it matters. I nodded slowly. I knew the difference. Eleanor had always said the same thing about Emily, that her daughter's willingness to believe the best about people was not a weakness, it was a choice. And it was one of the things that made her extraordinary. The fact that someone had deliberately exploited that quality made something move through me that I hadn't felt in a long time, something hot and very controlled. "You said you'd come back to Crane," I said. Marcus opened the fourth folder. "Victor Crane, I'll give you what I have so far, which is preliminary. He presents himself as a private investor, commercial real estate, some hospitality holdings. He moves in the same circles you do, at least on the surface." He tapped the folder. "But the underground gambling operation that Ryan owes money to runs through Crane's network, and I have reason to believe I want to be careful here, because this is not confirmed that he is currently of interest to LAPD's Financial Crimes Unit for reasons that go beyond the gaming clubs." He looked at me steadily. "What I can tell you with confidence is that Victor Crane is not someone whose 90-day deadlines are metaphorical." The room felt smaller than it had when I'd walked in. I pressed both hands flat on the edge of Marcus's desk and breathed through what I was hearing. My daughter was 6 days away from an engagement party. The man she planned to marry owed $2.3 million to people who included Victor Crane, and someone inside my company had been feeding Ryan Mitchell the internal details he needed to design a plan to take what he needed to pay them back. "There's one more thing," Marcus said, "and I want you to hear it before we talk about next steps." He reached across and placed a new document on top of the folder. "There is a woman named Chloe Barnes. She lives in San Diego currently, and she has a connection to Ryan Mitchell that I think explains something you've probably been wondering since Linda called you this afternoon." I looked at the page, a photograph, a woman I had never seen before. "Who is she?" I asked. Marcus folded his hands on the desk and looked at me with the steady, careful expression of a man who has delivered bad news professionally for 20 years and has never found a comfortable way to do it. "She's the reason," he said, "that your daughter believes meeting Ryan Mitchell was fate." I looked at the photograph on Marcus's desk for a long moment. The woman in it was in her early 30s, dark-haired, attractive, in an arranged sort of way. The kind of attractive that suggested a great deal of effort had gone into appearing effortless. She was photographed outside what looked like a coffee shop on a street I didn't recognize, and she was smiling at someone off camera with the particular warmth of a person who had learned that warmth was a tool. "Talk," I said. Marcus settled back in his chair. "Chloe Barnes, 31 years old. She runs a business out of Beverly Hills that she calls Executive Life Coaching and Matchmaking Services. High-end clientele by appointment, only her website is tasteful and vague, in the way that businesses are tasteful and vague when they want to be many things to many people." He opened the folder and turned several pages before finding what he was looking for. "She and Ryan Mitchell have a history going back approximately 5 years. They were involved personally for about 18 months, ending roughly 3.5 years ago. The breakup appears to have been Ryan's decision. So he called in a favor from an ex-girlfriend," I said. "He paid for the favor," Marcus said. $50,000 total, 25 upfront, 25 to be paid after the engagement party." He looked at me over the folder. "I want to be clear about why I know about the 25 that hasn't been paid yet. Because it matters." "Tell me." "Chloe Barnes recorded Ryan Mitchell." Marcus said it's simply the way you say something that explains everything once it lands. "About 8 months ago, Ryan started dragging his feet on the second payment. He kept telling her it was coming, that he needed to wait until certain things were in place. Chloe got nervous. She arranged a meeting with him under the pretense of catching up, and she recorded the entire conversation on her phone. He slid a printed transcript across the desk. She kept the recording as insurance proof that he owed her the money and proof of what he had paid her to do in case he decided the cleanest solution was to pretend the arrangement had never happened. I picked up the transcript. The text was dense, single-spaced, with time-stamps running down the left margin. My eyes found a passage Marcus had highlighted in yellow. Ryan's voice transcribed, "You set it up perfectly. Emily still talks about that night like it was a scene from a movie. She genuinely believes it was fate. She's told me probably 50 times that she felt like God put us in the same room on purpose." Chloe's voice, "That's because I made sure she would. I spent 2 months learning her schedule before that party, Ryan. That's not something you do for $25,000. That's why I need the rest. Ryan, you'll get it. After Saturday, everything moves. Just be patient." I set the transcript down on the desk. My hands were steadier than I expected them to be, which surprised me. I thought I would feel more in this moment, rage maybe, or grief, or the particular devastation of watching something precious get dismantled. Instead, I felt something colder and more precise, like a dial being turned from warm to clinical. She spent 2 months learning Emily's schedule, I said. Before the charity gala in Santa Monica, Marcus said. June of 2021, the event was organized by something called the Mitchell Foundation, a nonprofit Ryan registered in California in March of 2021, 3 months before the gala. The foundation's stated purpose was supporting arts education in underserved communities. It held exactly one event, the gala. He paused. I've flagged this with a colleague who does charitable compliance work. Registering a nonprofit to provide cover for a staged social event and then never using it for its stated purpose sits in uncomfortable territory. Legally, it's not straightforward criminal fraud, but it raises serious questions about the foundation's legitimacy. He built an entire charity organization, I said slowly, for one party, so my daughter would be in the right room. So your daughter would be in the right room, Marcus confirmed. And Chloe Barnes made sure Emily was standing in exactly the right spot when Ryan walked through the door. I stood up from the chair. I couldn't sit anymore. I walked to the window that overlooked Santa Monica Boulevard and looked out at the nighttime traffic below, headlights moving east and west, with the indifferent efficiency of a city that had no idea what was happening in this room 3 floors above it. Emily told me about the night they met, I said, not turning from the window. She called me the next morning. I was in Phoenix for a site visit and I almost didn't answer because I had a 7 a.m. meeting. I pressed my palm flat against the glass. It was cool against my skin. She said, "Dad, I met someone last night." She said it felt like something she'd been waiting for without knowing she was waiting. She sounded the way she used to sound on Christmas morning when she was small. My jaw tightened. I remember thinking, good, she's happy. That's what matters. Charles, Marcus started. How specific was the targeting? I asked. I turned from the window. The 2 months Chloe spent watching Emily. How detailed was it? Gas, Garible, and Boris. Marcus's expression was careful. From what I've been able to piece together, fairly detailed. Emily's routines, her regular spots, coffee shops, the farmer's market she went to on Saturdays, the yoga studio in Brentwood, her volunteer work, her patterns at charity events. He paused. And her vulnerabilities, Charles. Chloe identified what she called in the recording Emily's primary emotional need, and she reported it to Ryan. My chest tightened the way it had at Nobu when I'd watched Emily laugh without protecting herself. What did she call it? Marcus looked at me steadily. She said Emily was, quote, deeply lonely in the way that daughters of absent fathers often are, and that she was looking for someone to fill a specific shape in her life. He let that sit for exactly as long as it needed to. Ryan built himself into that shape, deliberately, with a blueprint. I walked back to the desk. I didn't sit down. I stood behind the chair with both hands on the back of it, gripping the wood, and I breathed very deliberately through my nose and out through my mouth, the way the physical therapist had taught me after my leg injury 25 years ago, when the pain was too much to manage otherwise. He had read a report about my daughter's loneliness. He had read that she missed her father, and he had built himself into the man she had always wanted her father to be. The thing moving through my chest now was not cold anymore. "Marcus," I said, and my voice came out quieter than I intended, "is Chloe Barnes reachable?" "She's in San Diego currently," Marcus said. "I have an address. I think she might be willing to talk. The fact that she made that recording suggests she's been carrying some discomfort about this. And now that she knows Ryan is stalling on the payment, her loyalty to him is approximately 0. He folded his hands on the desk. "But Charles, before you decide how to approach her, there's something else you need to hear. Something about the documents." I looked at him. "I've been going through Ryan's legal footprint at the same time as the financial investigation," Marcus said. "And I found something that I need you to take to Diana Caldwell first thing tomorrow morning." He reached into the bottom drawer of his desk and produced a sealed manila envelope. He slid it across the desk with 2 fingers, the way you slide something across a surface when you don't particularly want to be the one touching it. "What's in there?" I asked. Marcus picked up his bourbon glass. He looked at me over the rim of it with the expression of a man who has spent 20 years delivering bad news and has never once found a way to make it land softly. "A prenuptial agreement," he said, "with your daughter's name on it, And something else, Charles. Something that involves your name on documents you have never seen before. He set the glass down. I need you to look at what's in that envelope with a lawyer present. Tonight, if Diana will take the call. Because what Ryan Mitchell has been building isn't just a financial scheme. He leaned forward slightly. It's a legal trap, and it was designed by someone who knows exactly how you think, how you work, and what documents you would and wouldn't read carefully. My hand closed around the envelope. Outside on Santa Monica Boulevard, the city kept being indifferent and bright, completely unaware that somewhere above it, a 65-year-old man was standing in a private investigator's office, holding what felt like the weight of everything he had spent his life building and understanding, for the first time how precisely and patiently someone had been working to take it away. "Get Diana on the phone," I said. "Now." Diana Caldwell had been awake when I called at 12:45 in the morning. She didn't say this. Diana never complained about anything as pedestrian as sleep deprivation, but I could hear the particular quality of alertness in her voice that comes not from rest, but from coffee and adrenaline, and 28 years of practicing law in Beverly Hills, where crises had a habit of arriving after midnight. She told me to come to her office at 7 a.m. She would have someone there to let me in. I didn't sleep. I sat in my home office in Malibu with the sealed manila envelope on the desk in front of me and did not open it because Diana had been very clear. Don't touch anything inside until I'm with you. So, I sat with it. I made coffee. I didn't drink. I watched the Pacific go from black to gray to the particular pale gold it turns in, the hour before a California sunrise. And I thought about my daughter sleeping somewhere across the city, with no idea that the man in the bed beside her had spent 3 years engineering the most intimate betrayal I had ever witnessed. Diana's office was on the 8th floor of a building on Wilshire Boulevard that had been built in the 1970s and had the bones of something that had once been impressive and was now merely expensive. Her name was on the door in brushed gold letters. She opened it herself when I knocked at 2 minutes past 7, already in a blazer, a yellow legal pad tucked under her arm, reading glasses pushed up into silver hair. Sit down, Charles," she said. "Coffee's on the credenza. I need you to walk me through everything Marcus told you before we open that envelope." I walked her through it. She sat across from me with her legal pad and wrote in the fast slanted shorthand of someone who had taken notes in depositions for 3 decades, her pen moving without pause while I talked. She did not interrupt. She did not react visibly. When I finished, she set the pen down, capped it, and looked at me over the rims of her reading glasses. "The envelope," she said. I pushed it across the desk. Diana put on a pair of nitrile gloves from a box in her top drawer, old a habit she had told me once from the early days when document handling mattered more than it did now, and slit the envelope open with a letter opener. She removed the contents with the careful efficiency of someone diffusing something. There were 2 separate documents inside. She placed them side by side on the desk. She read the first one in silence, turning pages slowly, and I watched her face the way you watch a doctor's face when they're reading your test results. Diana Caldwell had one of the most controlled faces I had ever seen on a human being. 28 years of courtrooms had made it nearly impossible to read. But somewhere around the 3rd page, the line of her jaw changed, just slightly, just enough. "This is the prenuptial agreement Ryan intends Emily to sign," she said without looking up. "Marcus told me there was something wrong with it." Marcus was correct. She finished the last page and set it down. She looked at me with the direct, unornamented expression she used when she needed me to hear something, without flinching. "The surface language is standard. Boilerplate asset protection for both parties, reasonable and balanced. A first-year associate would review this and find nothing alarming." She turned to page 14 and pushed it across the desk to me, her finger pointing to a block of text in a font size I needed to lean forward to read. But here, buried in the definition section of the Asset Management Clause, is language that grants Ryan Mitchell joint management authority over 3 specific commercial properties you own in Los Angeles: 412 East 6th Street, the Westwood office complex on Wilshire, and the mixed-use building in Silver Lake. Combined current market value, $18 million. I looked at the text. The language was dense and layered, the kind of prose that was designed to be understood only by someone who already knew it was there. "The trigger is 24 months of marriage," Diana continued. "If Emily signs this agreement and the marriage reaches its 2nd anniversary, Ryan Mitchell gains legally enforceable co-management rights over $18 million worth of your assets. He doesn't need to own them. He just needs to manage them. And under California's community property framework. She stopped. Charles, are you following me? Keep going, I said. Under California community property law, income and asset value generated during a marriage is generally split equally between spouses. If Ryan is managing these properties and generating decisions about them during the marriage, his attorney would have a very strong argument that any value he helped create belongs to him. She set the page down. He doesn't need a majority stake. He doesn't need your signature on a transfer. He needs Emily's signature on this document and 24 months of access. My hands were resting on the arms of the chair. I pressed them down against the upholstery and held them there. California law also requires, Diana said, that a prenuptial agreement be provided to the other party at least 7 days before it's signed. This agreement was drafted to be presented to Emily 2 days before the engagement party, which is Saturday. She looked at me. A California court would almost certainly void this agreement if Emily signed it without independent legal counsel and without the required waiting period. But voiding it after the fact means litigation. It means years, Charles. It means cost and exposure, and Emily in the middle of it. What's the second document? I asked. Diana reached for it. She read the first page, then the second. Then she set it down on the desk with a deliberate care that told me everything before she said a word. Charles, she said, and her voice had dropped half a register. This is a grant deed and an accompanying transfer authorization for the 3 properties I just described. It transfers management control to an entity called Lloyd and Mitchell Real Estate Holdings, LLC. She turned the document to face me. And it bears your signature, dated September 28th of this year. I leaned forward and looked at the signature line. My name, my exact signature, the particular slant of the capital C, the way the W in Whitmore crossed at a specific height, the small loop I made at the N that I had always known was idiosyncratic, but had never bothered to change. 40 years of signing contracts and deeds and documents had carved that signature into something as identifiable as a fingerprint. I had not signed this document. I had not seen this document. I had never heard of Lloyd and Mitchell Real Estate Holdings, LLC. That is not my signature, I said. I know, Diana said. I've worked with you for 11 years. I know your signature. She pulled the document back and examined it under the desk lamp, tilting it at an angle. This is exceptional work, Charles. Someone spent considerable time studying the original. The pressure points, the slight hesitation before the capital W, the loop at the end. Whoever did this had access to multiple original samples. She set it down. This document is intended to be filed with the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office. Once recorded, it becomes a matter of public record. Reversing a recorded deed transfer requires a court order, which means a lawsuit, which means time. She paused. When is this scheduled to be filed? Marcus said Monday morning. I said, 8 a.m. Diana looked at the clock on her wall. It was 7:22 a.m. on Tuesday, October 8th. That gave us 4 days. She picked up her pen. Here is what we are going to do, she said, and her voice had shifted into the register I had heard her use in courtrooms, precise, rapid, entirely without sentiment. First, I am filing a laus appendens on all 3 properties today. A laus appendens is a recorded notice that these properties are subject to a legal dispute. It doesn't stop the world, but it puts every title company and lender on notice that these assets are contested. Anyone who tries to transact on them does so at their own legal risk. Do it, I said. Second, I am drafting an irrevocable trust today. We move your assets into the trust immediately. An irrevocable trust, properly structured, places those assets outside the reach of any claims arising from Emily's marriage. It is not a domestic asset protection trust. California doesn't recognize that specific vehicle the way Nevada or Delaware does, but a properly constructed irrevocable trust with an independent trustee achieves the same protection. She was writing as she spoke. Third, I am contacting the SEC's Western Regional Office in Los Angeles today. What Marcus has described a shell company soliciting investment under false pretenses is a federal securities matter. I have a contact there. And the forged signature, Diana looked up from her legal pad. That is California Penal Code 470, forgery. It is also California Penal Code 532, F real estate fraud. Both are felonies. She held my gaze. And depending on how the documents were transmitted, if Ryan or anyone working with him used email wire transfer or any electronic communication to execute this scheme, it potentially rises to federal wire fraud under Title 18 of the United States Code. She set her pen down for just a moment. Charles, whoever forged your signature had access to multiple original samples of it. That means they had access to documents you've signed, which means someone in your professional circle has been feeding them material. I know, I said. Marcus is working on that. Diana nodded and picked her pen back up. She wrote for another 30 seconds without speaking, filling half a page with notes, and I sat across from her in the early morning light of her Beverly Hills office and felt the shape of what Ryan Mitchell had built become fully visible to me for the first time. It was not impulsive. It was not opportunistic. It was architectural. Every piece had been designed to fit against every other piece, and the whole structure had been engineered to be invisible right up until the moment it was too late to dismantle it. Diana, I said, I need one more thing. She looked up. The engagement party is at the Shore House in Santa Monica on Saturday, I said. I booked the venue. I paid the deposit. I am the client of record. I leaned forward slightly. I need access to their audiovisual system. Everything I've described, the documents, the recordings, the financial records I need to be able to present all of it in that room, in front of everyone who's going to be there. Diana studied me for a moment. Then she wrote something on her legal pad, tore the sheet off, and slid it across the desk. The venue manager's name and direct line, she said. Tell him I referred you. And Charles. She looked at me with the 11-year steadiness of someone who knew exactly who she was working for. Make sure you're ready, because once you do this, there is no version of Saturday that ends quietly. I know, I said. I picked up the piece of paper. My hand was not shaking. Good, I said. Quiet was never what I had in mind. Ryan Mitchell shook my hand outside Ristorante Giorgio on Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica at 12:15 on Tuesday afternoon, and I shook it back with the same firm pressure I had used for 40 years, of deals I was happy about and deals I was not. Because in my experience, the handshake never changes, only what you're thinking behind it does. Charles, he grinned that easy, practiced grin. You look great. You sleep well. Like a rock, I said. Best night in months, he said. Emily and I stayed up way too late talking about the party. She's so excited. We both are. I smiled and said, that sounded wonderful, and I meant neither word of it. We went inside. I had chosen the restaurant, told Ryan I wanted Italian, somewhere with good light and a quiet corner table, which was true. What I didn't mention was the reason for the quiet corner. The small digital recorder, Diana's assistant, had overnighted to my house that morning, currently sitting in the interior breast pocket of my jacket, already running. I had checked it twice in the car before coming in. The battery was full. The memory card had 6 hours of capacity. Diana had been clear about the parameters when she handed it to me with the venue manager's number that morning. I was a party to the conversation. I had reasonable grounds to believe I was being defrauded. California's two-party consent law carried exceptions that a good attorney could argue in civil proceedings, and Diana Caldwell was one of the best attorneys in Beverly Hills. She had said, just talk to him. Let him talk. Don't ask leading questions. Don't try to get him to confess anything specific. Just let him be himself. Ryan Mitchell was very good at being himself. The waiter came and we ordered grilled branzino for Ryan, pasta, for me a bottle of still water, because I needed my head completely clear. Ryan ordered a glass of Barolo without looking at the price the way men do when they want you to believe money is not something they think about. I noted it the way I had been noting everything for the past 18 hours, cataloging, filing, building the picture one detail at a time. I've been thinking a lot about what comes after the honeymoon, Ryan said, leaning forward once the waiter had gone. He had the posture of a man sharing something he had been looking forward to. Elbows on the table shoulders relaxed the body language of enthusiasm rather than calculation. The Maldives is 2 weeks and then we're back, and I want to hit the ground running. Emily and I have been talking about the future, and I think the timing is actually perfect for some things we've been planning. What kind of things? I asked, keeping my voice warm and interested. Lloyd and Mitchell, the LLC. Emily and I are setting up. He said it casually, the way you mention something that has already been decided. Real estate focused primarily. I've been doing a deep dive into the Los Angeles market for the past year, and I think there are some real opportunities right now, especially if we're building around the right foundational assets from the start. Foundational assets, I repeated. Established properties. Strong cash flow, proven tenant relationships, the the kind of portfolio that gives a new entity immediate credibility with lenders and partners. He smiled, and it was a very good smile, warm and slightly self-deprecating, the smile of a man who knows he is impressive but doesn't want to seem like he knows it. You've spent 35 years building exactly that kind of portfolio, Charles. I've been learning everything I can about how you did it. The decisions you made early, the properties you chose, the way you structured the financing, it's honestly been an education. I noticed, I said pleasantly, you seem to know quite a bit about my buildings. Something moved behind his eyes. It was there for less than a second, a flicker of recalibration, the micro-expression of a man who has just heard something slightly unexpected and is deciding how to respond to it. Then the smile came back smooth, as paint applied over wood that had never been sanded properly. I've done my research, he said. If I'm going to be part of this family, I want to understand what the family has built. It's a sign of respect, honestly. You don't walk into something like this without doing the work. Smart thinking, I said. Emily mentioned you had market reports on your nightstand. He laughed easily. She caught me. I'm a details person, always have been. I can't help it. I see a problem or an opportunity, and I have to understand it completely before I can let it go. I picked up my water glass and took a slow sip, giving him room to continue. He did, because Ryan Mitchell, beneath the performance, beneath the careful construction of everything he presented to the world, was also a man who enjoyed hearing himself articulate his own plan. He spent the next 20 minutes discussing the commercial real estate market with fluency that would have impressed me if I hadn't known where it came from. Interest rate compression, cap rate trends, the opportunity in mixed-use development along the metro expansion corridors, the way that certain legacy portfolios were underperforming relative to their assessed value, and what a more aggressive management strategy could do with them. It was informed, it was detailed, and it was almost entirely built on things he had learned from documents that had never been meant for anyone outside my company's walls. I smiled and nodded and let the recorder in my jacket pocket do its work. At one point, deep in a discussion about refinancing timelines, he referenced the lease renewal schedule on my Silver Lake property, not the general situation, but the specific window. The month, the tenant's renewal option, language, the cap rate implications, if the lease wasn't extended before the next county assessment. 2 months ago, he couldn't have known that number. There was exactly one source that could have given it to him. One source who had been sitting in my company's accounting department for 12 years, who had access to every document, every deadline, every internal number that had never been meant for anyone outside the building. I thought about Daniel Hess sitting across from me at the conference table every Tuesday morning for 12 years. I thought about his daughter's college graduation, which I had sent flowers to because he'd mentioned it in passing, and it had seemed like the right thing to do. I made myself breathe normally and picked up my water glass again. You know, Ryan said, topping off my water without asking a small, rehearsed gesture of attentiveness, the kind of thing you practice until it looks spontaneous. I want to be honest with you about something, Charles. I looked at him. Please. I know you checked me out when Emily and I first started dating, he said. I would have done the same thing in your position. Honestly, I would have done more. You built everything you have from the ground up, and you're not going to hand your daughter to someone without knowing who they are. He met my eyes with something that was very precisely engineered to look like sincerity. And I know I probably didn't look like much at the time. Newer companies still establishing the track record, not the kind of portfolio that shows up in the obvious places. A pause measured for exactly the right length. I just want you to know that everything I'm working toward, every decision I'm making for Emily, for this family. I want to earn your trust, Charles, not just inherit it because I married your daughter. My chest hurt in a way that had nothing to do with the food or the wine I wasn't drinking. You've already earned a great deal of it, I said. I watched him absorb that. Watched the satisfaction move through him briefly and voluntarily, the way genuine feeling always leaks through, no matter how practiced the performance, before he pulled it back and put it away and replaced it with something appropriately humble. Of all the things Ryan Mitchell was capable of performing, receiving exactly what he wanted was the one thing he couldn't quite hide. It showed in the set of his shoulders, in the way his fingers relaxed around the stem of his wine glass. He had wanted to hear that. He had needed to hear it. And now that he had something in him, had quietly shifted into a gear that felt like certainty. We finished lunch. The food was good. The conversation was easy. He asked about my early years in construction with what appeared to be genuine curiosity, and listened to the answers with what appeared to be genuine interest. And he was so good at it, so completely flawlessly good at it, that twice I felt the pull of doubt move through me before I shut it down. I paid. We walked out into the October afternoon, the air off the Pacific carrying that particular Santa Monica chill that only locals recognize as cold. Ryan turned up his collar and shook my hand at the valet stand with that same firm, confident grip. "Saturday," he said. "It's going to be a great day, Charles, for all of us." "It certainly is," I said. I watched him walk to his car, dark navy, expensive, the kind of car that said success without saying it too loudly. He moved with the ease of a man who believed the hard part was over. The car pulled out of the lot, and I stood on the sidewalk with the ocean wind on my face and 3 long breaths in my lungs, and the recorder still running in my jacket pocket. Then my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. Marcus. The message was 4 lines. I read it once, then read it again, to make sure I had understood each word correctly. "Found your inside man. And Ryan met Crane again last night. There's a third voice on the recording, Charles. You know this person." I stood very still on the sidewalk outside Ristorante Giorgio, while the valets moved cars around me and the October wind kept coming in off the water, indifferent and cold and entirely unconcerned with what I had just read. Then I walked to my car, sat down, closed the door, and called Marcus back. Marcus sent the audio file at 4:17 p.m. By 4:20, I was sitting at my desk in Malibu with the door closed and both windows open because I needed the sound of the ocean to stay level while I listened. The afternoon light was coming through at the low angle it gets in October, throwing long shadows across the hardwood floor, and I sat in the middle of it with my headphones in and my hands flat on the desk and pressed play. The recording was 42 minutes long. It had been captured the previous night at a private dining room in the back of a Korean barbecue restaurant in Koreatown. One of those rooms with a frosted glass door, and no signage, the kind of room that exists in every major city for conversations that are not supposed to be remembered. Marcus had his methods. I had learned over 12 years of working with him not to ask about them in detail. Ryan's voice came through first clear and easy. "Crane, thanks for making time." The second voice was measured and unhurried with the flat, settled affect of a man who had not been surprised by anything in a very long time. "You said it was important. Make it important." "Saturday is locked," Ryan said. "The engagement party happens. The old man hands over the keys to the yacht at the reception. $950,000 in asset value transferred as a gift, clean and documented. That starts the clock." "The clock started when you proposed," Crane said. 90 days, not 90 days from Saturday." "I understand that. I want to hear you say the number." A pause. 2 seconds. 3. 2.3 million. Cleared within 90 days of the engagement. "And the properties? The documents are ready, filed Monday morning before he realizes anything is in motion. Once those are recorded with the county, the 3 buildings are effectively under our management umbrella. Cash flow starts immediately." There was a low syllable from Crane, acknowledgement, nothing more, the sound of a man who does not waste words on things that are already understood. Then, "And the girl doesn't know. Emily knows nothing." Ryan's voice was so casual it felt like a physical thing, something that moved through my stomach, the way cold water moves through the body on a hot day, reaching places you didn't expect. "She thinks this is the happiest week of her life." I reached forward and pressed pause. I sat with that sentence for a long moment. The ocean moved outside the open windows. A bird passed somewhere. The shadows on the floor stretched another inch toward the far wall. "She thinks this is the happiest week of her life," said the way you might tell someone the weather forecast. Said by a man who had spent 3 years learning to look at my daughter like she was the center of every room he walked into. Said by the man she was going to stand beside on Saturday in front of everyone they knew and promise her future to. I pressed play. The third voice entered at the 14-minute mark. I knew it before the first sentence was finished. Not because I had been expecting it. I had been expecting a stranger, someone from Ryan's world, someone I would have to identify from a photograph. But the voice that came through the headphones was not a stranger's voice. It was the voice of a man I had heard every Tuesday morning for 12 years, across a conference table discussing numbers and documents and the quiet machinery of a company I had spent 35 years building. "The notary is confirmed for 7:45 Monday morning," the third voice said. "Before the building opens. I'll have the originals ready for filing by 8. Daniel Hess, my chief financial officer. The man who had sat directly across from me at that conference table every single week for 12 years, without exception, who had walked me through quarterly reports and tax filings and acquisition structures with the patient thorough competence of someone who genuinely cared about getting things right. The man I had promoted twice. The man I had trusted with every sensitive document in the company, every internal number, every piece of information that was never meant to leave the building. The man who had been at my daughter's college graduation party. I had sent flowers because he mentioned it, and he had texted a photograph of the arrangement with a note that said, "She was so surprised, thank you." The man who had handled originals of my signature for over a decade, who knew the slant of my capital C and the particular height of my W, and the small loop at the end that I had always known was idiosyncratic and had never bothered to change. I stopped the recording. My hands were flat on the desk. I pressed them down and felt the grain of the wood under my palms and stayed with what was moving through me. It was not rage. Rage would have been cleaner, something that burned fast and left ash. This was something older and heavier, something that moved more slowly, the particular weight of a betrayal that had been growing in the dark for an unknown amount of time. 12 years of Tuesday mornings, 12 years of trust placed in a man based on one afternoon in my office when he had been honest about being desperate, and I had decided that honesty was something worth building on. $200,000. That was the number Ryan had apparently promised him. That was what 12 years of access and confidence and advancement had been worth in the end to Daniel Hess. I sat with that for another minute. Then I picked up my phone and called Marcus. "I heard it," I said when he answered. "I'm sorry, Charles." His voice was quiet and direct. "I know what he meant to the company. I know what you built with him. How do we handle it?" "I go to him tonight," Marcus said. "I bring everything, the recording, the document trail, the timeline. I make it very clear that his window for coming forward voluntarily is closing fast, and that a man who chooses cooperation looks fundamentally different in front of a prosecutor than a man who has to be dragged in." He paused. "I can't make him any promises. That's not something I'm in a position to do legally, but I can make him understand that the decision he makes in the next few hours will shape everything that follows." "There's one condition," I said. "Tell me. He does not contact Ryan, not tonight, not tomorrow morning, not at any point before Saturday. If Ryan gets any warning at all, everything we've built this week falls apart." "His attorney will tell him the same thing," Marcus said. "Cooperation means silence. I'll make sure he understands that before I leave." "Good." I ended the call and set the phone face down on the desk. Through the open windows, the Pacific was doing what it always does at this hour, pulling color out of the sky and spreading it across the water, deep orange fading to something almost purple at the edges, the horizon going soft in the way it does when the light is leaving. It was one of the things I had bought this house for, this particular view at this particular hour, and I had spent 11 years sitting at this desk, not looking at it because there was always something more urgent on the screen in front of me. I looked at it now. My phone rang. Emily's name on the screen, her contact photo, the one she had taken herself at a farmer's market 2 summers ago, laughing at something outside the frame. I answered on the second ring. "Dad." Her voice was bright and warm and completely untouched by any of what I had spent the last 4 hours inside. "I just wanted to hear your voice." Is that weird? My throat tightened so suddenly and completely that it took me a full second to trust myself to speak. "Not weird at all, sweetheart. Ryan keeps saying Saturday is going to be perfect." She laughed softly, a private laugh. The laugh of someone who has been told something enough times that they have started to believe it. I think I actually believe him now. I looked out at the water, at the orange bleeding into purple, at the ocean that did not care about any of this, and never would. "I know you do," I said. "Get some rest tonight, Emily. You're going to need your strength this week." She said goodnight. I held the phone for a moment after the call ended, looking at her photograph on the screen. Then I set it down beside the recorder and sat in the last of the afternoon light and breathed. After I hung up with Emily, I sat at my desk for a long time without moving. The Pacific had gone dark outside the window. The office was quiet in the way that large houses are quiet, when there is only one person in them, not peaceful exactly, but hollow, the silence of rooms that were built for more people than currently occupy them. I had bought this house in 2004 when Emily was 8 years old, and I had told myself she needed space to grow up in. What she had needed and what I had given her instead were 2 different things that I had spent 20 years pretending were the same. I got up. I went to the hallway closet where Eleanor's boxes were stacked on the upper shelf, 4 of them banker's boxes I had labeled in my own handwriting after she died and had not opened since. I wasn't sure what I was looking for. I pulled the second box down and carried it to the kitchen table and opened it. Eleanor had kept everything. Programs from school plays, report cards with her notes written in the margins in red pen, tiny observations about Emily that she had never shared with me, because I was rarely home long enough for the conversation. A photograph of Emily at 7 years old, on a beach I didn't recognize, squinting into the sun, holding a sand dollar up to the camera with both hands, like it was the most valuable thing she had ever found. I didn't remember that day. I didn't know which beach it was. I hadn't been there. I kept going through the box. Near the bottom, beneath a folded piece of construction paper that turned out to be a Mother's Day card. From 1999, I found a small envelope, my name on the front. Charles. In a child's handwriting, the letters large and careful, and slightly uneven, the way letters look when someone is concentrating very hard on making them right. My hand slowed down. I opened it. The card inside was made from a piece of notebook paper folded in half. On the front, Emily had drawn 2 figures, a tall one and a small one, standing next to something that might have been a table or might have been a car. It was difficult to say. Inside, in the same large, careful handwriting, "Dear Daddy, I don't need a big present this year. I just want you to come home for dinner. Love, Emily." I read it once, then I read it again. Then I set it down on the kitchen table and pressed both hands over my face and sat there in the silence of my enormous empty house and felt the full weight of what 35 years of choices had cost me. She had been 10 years old. She had asked for one thing, dinner. I hadn't come home for dinner. I knew I hadn't, because I had no memory of that birthday at all, which meant I had either been traveling, or in meetings, or on a construction site somewhere, and I had sent a gift instead. Something expensive, something that was supposed to stand in for me. And I had told myself that providing was the same as being present. Eleanor had kept this card for 15 years without telling me it existed. She had put it in a box with my name on the envelope. Maybe she had always intended to give it to me eventually. Maybe she had known there would be a night like this one. A night when I finally needed to understand something that she had understood for decades. I picked the card up again, that small, careful handwriting. The 2 figures standing together next to whatever that object was. I had bought a $950,000 yacht because I didn't know how to say I was sorry. And the entire time, the only thing my daughter had ever asked me for fit on half a piece of notebook paper. I sat there for a long time. Then I wiped my face with the back of my hand, stood up and carried the card to my desk. I set it next to the mahogany box with the yacht keys inside. The 2 objects side by side, one worth nearly $1 million, one worth everything. I picked up my phone and called Diana. "I need the AV system confirmed for Saturday," I said when she answered. "And the irrevocable trust, I want it finalized tomorrow morning. All of it, Diana. Every piece needs to be in place before Saturday." "It will be," she said. "Good." I looked at the card again. Because I've been late to enough important things in my life, I'm not going to be late to this one. Diana had the irrevocable trust documents ready by 8:15 a.m. I signed them at her conference table with 2 witnesses present, her paralegal and an associate from the office next door, who had been pulled in for exactly this purpose. The signing took 11 minutes. With those 11 minutes, every significant asset I owned, 12 properties. The investment accounts, the liquid holdings, moved into a trust structure that placed them beyond the reach of any claim arising from Emily's marriage. Whatever Ryan Mitchell had planned, he could no longer reach it through my daughter. It was the most important 11 minutes of paperwork I had completed in 40 years of business, and I felt nothing when it was done, except a grim and functional relief. "SEC is next," Diana said, gathering the signed pages. "I spoke with a contact at the Western Regional office this morning. They've had Mitchell Capital Ventures on a preliminary watch list for several months, insufficient evidence to act, but the file was open." She looked at me over her reading glasses. "What we're providing closes that file and opens a new one. They'll be present Saturday at the Shore House. Not to make arrests, the SEC is a civil enforcement agency. What they will do is serve Ryan with a formal subpoena and initiate proceedings. The criminal referral to the U.S. Attorney's Office follows from there." "And Crane?" I asked. "That's Marcus's lane," she said. "Call him." I called Marcus from the car. He picked up on the first ring. "Crane is LAPD financial crimes territory," he said before I could ask. I've been in contact with the detective assigned to his file. They've been building a case on his lending network for 14 months. What I handed them last night moved things considerably forward. A pause. They'll have people outside the shore house on Saturday. When Crane walks in, they'll be ready. He'll walk in, I said. Ryan invited him. Crane wanted to see the yacht transfer in person. Then Saturday is going to be a busy day for a lot of people, Marcus said. There was something in his books that was not quite satisfaction, but was adjacent to it, the tone of a man watching pieces move into position after a long time in motion. One more thing. Chloe Barnes called me this morning. She's ready to cooperate, fully signed witness statement available to testify. Ryan still hasn't paid the second $25,000, and her patience officially ran out. I filed that away. Then I asked the question I had been holding since the previous night. What about Emily? The note she found in Ryan's jacket 6 months ago. Marcus was quiet for a moment. She saw it, Charles. Building names, account numbers, the 90-day timeline. She asked Ryan about it, and he showed her a prepared document looked like a formal investment proposal, professionally bound, described as a surprise gift he was planning for you after the wedding. She accepted the explanation. The car felt smaller than it had a moment before. I pulled to the side of Sunset Boulevard and sat with the engine running. He had a prepared document ready, I said, in case she found the note. He had a prepared document ready. Marcus confirmed. He anticipated that she might find it and had the cover story built before she ever asked the question. I thought about Emily accepting that explanation, not because she was careless, because she had wanted to believe that the man she loved was planning something kind. Ryan had looked at my daughter's capacity for trust and had used it as a building material. I didn't feel rage. My chest hurt in a way that had no clean name, something between grief and responsibility. The specific pain of understanding that the hole Ryan had exploited in Emily's life was a hole I had spent 28 years digging. She's not at fault, I said. No, Marcus said. She's not. I pulled back into traffic. The venue AV system confirmed. Diana's contact called the shorehouse manager yesterday afternoon. You're the client of record on the booking. They'll give you full access Friday evening to load everything. Good. I checked the clock on the dashboard. 2 days and change until Saturday. Marcus, where are we on Daniel Hess? He called a lawyer last night, Marcus said. By 9 p.m. he had retained counsel and reached out to the SEC contact Diana gave him. He's cooperating. Fully. Another pause. He's not going to warn Ryan. His attorney made that very clear to him. I nodded, though Marcus couldn't see it. Then we're ready. Almost, Marcus said. You still have to walk in there Saturday and do the thing. I know, I said. I drove the rest of the way to Malibu without the radio. The city moved around me in its usual indifferent way. Traffic on Sunset, a construction crew on PCH. A woman walking a dog the size of a small horse along the shoulder of the road. Ordinary Tuesday morning in Los Angeles. Nobody knew, nobody had any idea. In 4 days, Ryan Mitchell was going to stand in a room full of the people he had deceived and discover exactly how much damage a 65-year-old man with 4 days of preparation could do. I was looking forward to it more than I had looked forward to anything in years. Before I tell you what Linda Mitchell handed me across that coffee table in Pasadena, a small device that contained the last piece of the puzzle. I didn't know I was missing. Comment the word justice below. Let me know you're still in this with me. Because what's on that drive didn't just expose what Ryan had done. It showed me exactly how thoroughly he had planned for the possibility of getting caught. Please note, the story continuing from here includes fictionalized elements built for educational and reflective purposes. Some names and details have been adjusted for storytelling. If that's not for you, this is a perfectly fine place to stop. But if you're staying, I promise it's worth it. The coffee shop Linda had chosen was on a quiet block in Pasadena, the kind of place with mismatched chairs and a chalkboard menu and no music playing, which I appreciated because I needed to be able to hear every word she said. She was already there when I arrived at 9 a.m., sitting at a corner table with both hands wrapped around a mug she wasn't drinking from. She looked smaller than I remembered. 15 years had done what 15 years does, thinned her out, settled lines into her face that hadn't been there before. But her eyes were the same, direct and tired and carrying something heavy. Linda. I pulled out the chair across from her and sat down. She looked at me, and her chin trembled once before she pressed her lips together and controlled it. You look the same, she said, Older, but the same. You too, I said, which was not entirely true but was entirely kind. She reached into her bag and placed a small USB drive on the table between us. I found it 3 weeks ago, she said, in the back of his filing cabinet in a folder labeled tax documents. I almost didn't look. She pushed it toward me. I wish I hadn't. I picked it up. There are 2 audio files on it, Linda said. The first one is Ryan talking to a woman, I don't know her name, about how he arranged for them to meet your daughter. He describes it like a project, like something he planned and executed. Her voice stayed level through that sentence, but her hands tightened around the mug until her knuckles went white. He says Emily is, quote, too sweet, and that she'll sign whatever he puts in front of her. I've heard parts of that recording, I said. Marcus obtained a copy, she nodded. The second file is different. She looked at me steadily. Charles Ryan recorded himself talking through what to do if you found out, if you discovered what he was planning before the engagement party. She paused. He had a plan for that, a detailed one. I set the USB down on the table. Tell me. He was going to sue you, she said. His plan was to file a civil lawsuit against you, claiming you had interfered unlawfully in Emily's relationship, that you had caused her emotional harm by trying to destroy her engagement. He had language prepared, a lawyer already briefed. Her jaw tightened. The goal wasn't to win the lawsuit. He said that explicitly on the recording. The goal was to make you choose between fighting him in court and dragging Emily through it, or staying quiet and letting him proceed. The coffee shop felt very still around me. Ryan Mitchell had not left a single door unguarded. He had built a plan that worked if I did nothing, a plan that worked if I discovered it, and a plan to neutralize me if I tried to act. He had thought about this the way I thought about complex acquisitions, every contingency mapped, every exit covered. He underestimated one thing, I said. Linda looked at me. What? That I'd have 4 days and a very good attorney. Something shifted in her expression. Not quite relief, but the loosening of something that had been held too tight for too long. Then her eyes filled and she pressed the back of her hand against her mouth, and I watched Linda Mitchell do what she had been holding back since she sat down in this chair. I raised him, she said, her voice breaking apart. I made his lunches and drove him to practice and sat with him when he had nightmares, and I do not know Charles. I genuinely do not know how this happened to him. I reached across the table and put my hand over hers. You called me, I said. When it mattered most, you did the right thing. Frank would have done the same. She pressed her hand over her eyes and breathed. When she looked up, her face was wet and exhausted and somehow steadier. Is Emily going to be okay? Yes, I said. She is. I drove back to Los Angeles with the USB in my jacket pocket and arrived home to find a text from Marcus Daniel Hess had spent 4 hours with his attorney and a representative from the SEC. He had handed over everything. He would not be making any phone calls to Ryan. That evening, Emily appeared at my front door with a manila envelope in her hand and an expression I recognized, the careful neutrality she had worn since childhood, when she was trying not to show she was worried. Ryan sent this over, she said. Pre-engagement financial planning, he called it. She held it out. Dad, can you look at it with me? I looked at my daughter standing in my doorway, 28 years old, holding a document full of traps she couldn't see, and I made a decision about how the next 36 hours were going to go. Come inside, I said. I'll make coffee, and Emily, there are some things I need to tell you. I made coffee neither of us wanted, and we sat at the kitchen table, and I told my daughter the truth, not all at once. I had learned from 40 years of difficult conversations that the worst thing you can do is drop everything on someone. Simultaneously, it shuts them down, makes them defensive, gives them nowhere to put what they're feeling. So I went layer by layer, the way you peel something back, when you need the person on the other side of the table to stay present through all of it. I started with Mitchell Capital Ventures, the shell company, the Delaware registration, the absence of any real business activity. Emily listened without speaking, her hands wrapped around her mug the same way Linda's had been that morning, and I noticed the similarity and felt something tighten in my chest. His company isn't real, she said when I finished that part. It wasn't a question. She was testing the sentence to see how it felt in her mouth. No, I said. I told her about the debt, $2.3 million, the underground casino connections, Victor Crane, the 90-day deadline that started at the engagement party. I watched her face while I talked, the careful stillness of someone who is working very hard not to react until they have all the information. Then I told her about Chloe Barnes. That was the one that moved her. Her jaw tightened and her eyes went bright, and she looked down at the table for a moment, pressing her thumbnail into the wood grain. "The charity gala," she said quietly. "I told you it felt like fate. I know you did. I told everyone that." She looked up. "I told Ryan that. Probably 50 times. Her voice had gone very flat, which in Emily had always meant she was feeling something too large to let out all at once. He must have loved hearing that. "Emily, no, I mean it literally." She pressed her hand flat on the table. Every time I said it felt like fate, he knew exactly how much his plan had worked. I was handing him confirmation. Her eyes were dry, but her breathing had gone uneven shallow at the top of each inhale. "Keep going, Dad. Tell me the rest." I told her about the prenuptial agreement, the hidden clause on page 14, the grant deed with my forged signature ready to be filed Monday morning. I told her about Daniel Hess. I watched her absorb Daniel Hess, a man she had met at company Christmas parties, whose daughter she had once helped move into a college dorm, and I saw her press her lips together so hard they went white at the edges. Then I put my phone on the table and played the recording from the USB. Ryan's voice filled my kitchen, easy and confident and completely unbothered. "She's too sweet. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her." Emily's hand came up and covered her mouth. Her shoulders pulled inward. She sat like that for a long moment, hunched slightly forward over the table, her hand pressed against her lips, her eyes fixed on the phone like she could see him through the speaker. When she lowered her hand, her face was controlled in a way that cost her something. "6 months ago," she said, "I found a note in his jacket, your building names, account numbers, a timeline." She looked at me. "He told me it was a surprise, a gift he was planning for you after the wedding, an investment proposal, something to honor what you'd built." She stopped. "He had a whole document ready, Dad, professionally printed bound. It looked real." "It was prepared in advance," I said, "in case you found the note." She absorbed that. "He knew I might find it, and he had the answer ready before I even asked the question." Her voice cracked on the last word, just slightly a hairline fracture in the control she was maintaining. I should have pushed harder. "You trusted someone you loved," I said. "That's not a mistake. That's who you are." She looked at me for a long moment, then she reached across the table and picked up the manila envelope Ryan had sent the prenuptial agreement with its hidden clause, the document designed to dismantle everything I had built. She held it for a moment. Then she set it down on the far side of the table, away from both of us, like something that had been identified and could now be left alone. "What do we do?" she asked. "We go Saturday," I said. "We smile. We let him believe he's already won." Emily nodded slowly. Her eyes were dry. Her hands were steady. She looked in that moment more like Eleanor than she had ever looked in her life, that particular quality of stillness that meant a decision had been made and would not be revisited. "Okay," she said. "Then that's what we do." She stood to leave. At the kitchen doorway, she stopped her back to me, and I saw her shoulders rise and fall with one long breath. "Dad," she didn't turn around. "Thank you for telling me." "I should have been telling you things for years," I said. She nodded once so small I almost missed it and walked out into the night. I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk in the Malibu office with the lights low and the Pacific outside doing its slow, indifferent thing, and I went through everything one final time, the way I had always gone through major transactions the night before they closed, not looking for new information, but checking that every piece I already had was where I needed it to be. Diana called at 9 p.m. The irrevocable trust was filed and effective. The Ellis pendants was recorded on all 3 properties. The SEC contact had confirmed 2 agents would be present at the Shore House in Santa Monica tomorrow with documentation for Ryan. The venue's AV technician had loaded everything, all 6 slide sets, both audio files, including the recording Linda had handed me in Pasadena, onto the presentation system that afternoon. She had tested it twice. "It's ready," Diana said. "All of it." "Good," I said. Marcus texted at 9:45. LAPD Financial Crimes had 2 detectives confirmed for tomorrow. They would position outside the venue and move when Crane was identified inside. Chloe Barnes had overnighted her signed witness statement to Diana's office. Daniel Hess had spent the day with his attorney and the SEC, and his cooperation had been, in Marcus's word, comprehensive. I put the phone face down on the desk and sat with the quiet for a while. Ryan had sent Emily 6 text messages between 7 and 10 p.m. I knew this because Emily had texted me at 10:15. "He's asking about the paperwork again." I told him I need more time. He's not happy. Should I be worried he suspects something? I texted back. He doesn't suspect. He's just impatient. You're doing perfectly. Get some sleep. She sent back a single word. Okay. I picked up the mahogany box from the corner of the desk and held it in both hands. Tomorrow, I would walk into a room with 120 people in it, colleagues, friends, family members who had no idea what they were about to witness, and I would stand at a microphone and dismantle 3 years of careful construction in front of all of them. I had done difficult things in my life. I had gone into a collapsing building for a man I barely knew. I had buried my wife. I had built a company from nothing through recessions and market crashes and 2 lawsuits and 1 near bankruptcy that I had never told anyone about except Eleanor. This felt different, not harder, but different, because tomorrow I wasn't protecting a building or a balance sheet. I was protecting my daughter. And there was a version of tomorrow where I did everything right, every piece of evidence presented correctly, every legal protection in place, and Emily still walked out of that room with something broken in her that might take years to repair. I couldn't fix that part. All I could do was make sure she didn't go through it alone. Ryan sent me a text at 11 p.m. Big day tomorrow, sir. I just want you to know how much it means to me to be joining your family. You've built something incredible, Charles. I hope I can honor that. I read it twice. Then I set the phone back down without responding and looked out at the water. The Pacific at midnight is black and vast, and completely unimpressed with human problems. I had always found that comforting, the reminder that the ocean had been doing this for 4 billion years and would continue doing it long after every person in that room tomorrow had turned to dust. Whatever happened tomorrow, the water would still be there. I was still sitting at the desk at 2 a.m. when I heard the soft knock at the office door. "Come in," I said. The door opened. Emily stood in the frame in a jacket pulled over her pajamas, her hair loose, her feet in the old slippers she had left at my house 3 Christmases ago and never taken back. Her eyes were clear. She hadn't been crying. She looked like someone who had been lying awake making peace with something. "I couldn't sleep," she said. "Neither could I said. "Come sit with me." She crossed the room and sat in the chair across from my desk, the same chair she had sat in as a teenager, when I used to make her do homework in my office on the rare evenings I was home, and pulled her knees up to her chest and looked at me with Eleanor's eyes. "Are we going to be okay?" she asked. "After tomorrow, are we going to be okay?" I looked at my daughter, at the woman she had become without me there to watch most of it. "Yeah," I said, "we are." She nodded. Outside, the ocean moved in the dark. Neither of us felt the need to say anything else, and for the first time in as long as I could remember, the quiet between us didn't feel like distance. It felt like something else entirely. We moved out to the deck, without discussing it, the way you move toward the thing that makes the most sense without needing to name it. The ocean was out there in the dark and visible, except for the sound of it, that slow, rhythmic push and pull that had been the background music of every important conversation I'd had in this house. Emily leaned against the railing and looked out at the water. I sat in the chair I always sat in, the one with the worn armrest on the left side, where I'd spent too many late nights with a glass of something and the particular company of my own thoughts. "Your mother used to say I was building a future for you," I said. Every time she pointed out I was missing something, a dinner a weekend, a school thing, I'd tell her I was building a future for us, for the family. I looked at my hands. She'd nod and let it go. But she always knew the difference between building something for someone and being present for them. Emily kept her eyes on the water. "She never said that to me, about you." "She wouldn't have," I said. "She protected you from the version of me that wasn't good enough, and she protected me from having to see myself clearly." I reached into my jacket pocket and took out the card, the folded piece of notebook paper I had been carrying since I found it 2 nights ago. I held it out to her. She turned and looked at it. Then she took it from my hand, and I watched her face in the dim light from the house as she opened it and read what she had written when she was 10 years old. Her breath came out slow and unsteady. She read it again. Then she folded it carefully and held it in both hands against her chest, her head bowing forward slightly, and her shoulders began to shake. She was crying in the way she had always cried since she was small, quietly without performance, like grief was something private that happened to her, rather than something she displayed. I stood up from the chair and put my hand on her shoulder, and she turned and pressed her face against my chest, and I held my daughter on the deck of my house while the Pacific moved in the dark below us. She cried for a little while. Then she pulled back and wiped her face with the sleeve of her jacket and let out a breath that shook on the way out. "Mom kept a copy for me," she said. Her voice was quiet. "She gave it to me when I was 12, said you'd written it down and she wanted me to have it." She looked at her hands. "I kept it in a box in my closet for years. I take it out sometimes." She paused. "I didn't know she'd kept the original." She looked at me. "I don't know why I'm telling you that." "I'm glad you are," I said. She turned back to the railing. For a moment the only sound was the ocean. "I think I understand something now," she said. "About Ryan, about why it worked." Her voice was steady but careful, the way you speak when you're saying something true that also hurts. "You were gone a lot when I was growing up. Not because you didn't love me, I always knew you loved me, but you weren't there. And when Ryan came along and he was always there, always present, always paying attention, always making me feel like the most important thing in any room, I think I fell in love with that before I fell in love with him." She paused. "Maybe instead of him." The words landed in my chest and stayed there. I had hired investigators. I had hired lawyers. I had spent 4 days dismantling Ryan Mitchell's plan piece by careful piece. And the thing none of that could touch, the reason any of it had worked in the first place, was standing on this deck with me at 2 a.m, telling me quietly that a hole I had spent 28 years creating was exactly the shape of the man who had tried to destroy us. "That's my fault," I said, "not yours." Emily turned to look at me. "I'm not saying it to hurt you. I know. You're saying it because it's true." I moved to the railing beside her. The water was out there somewhere in the dark, vast and old and utterly patient. "I thought I was giving you a future. I was giving you things. There's a difference, and I knew there was a difference, and I kept choosing not to look at it." She reached out and put her hand over mine on the railing. Her fingers were cold from the night air. "You came back," she said. "That's what matters. I almost came back too late. But you didn't." She squeezed my hand. "Dad, you went back into a building for a man you barely knew because you heard someone needed help. You've always come back when it mattered." She looked at me with Eleanor's eyes in the dark. "I just needed to be the one you heard." Something broke open in my chest that I didn't have a name for. Not grief exactly, not relief. Something that had been sealed for a very long time, finally given air. 8 hours, I said after a while. "Then it's over." Emily nodded. She straightened up from the railing and pulled her jacket tighter against the night chill. At the door back into the house, she stopped. "Whatever happens in that room tomorrow," she said, "I need you to know something." She looked back at me over her shoulder. "I'm glad you told me. I'm glad I know. Even though it's the hardest thing I've heard in my life, I would rather know it than not." "Me too," I said, "about a lot of things." She went inside. I stayed on the deck a while longer, one hand still on the railing, the ocean doing its ancient and indifferent work in the dark below. Tomorrow was 8 hours away. I had done everything I could do. I thought about Eleanor the way I always thought about her when I had run out of other thoughts. "You should have been here for this." I told her the way I told her things sometimes, when the house was quiet enough to feel like she might still be listening. You would have known exactly what to say to her. You always did. The ocean didn't answer. It never did. But it kept moving, which was enough. The shore house sat on a bluff above the Pacific Coast Highway in Santa Monica, a converted craftsman estate with white-painted wood and long windows that caught the morning light and threw it across the floors in bright, indifferent panels. I had booked it 8 months ago, back when Saturday the 12th of October had meant something entirely different to me. Back when I was a proud father, spending $40,000 on his daughter's engagement party because she deserved something beautiful, and I had spent too many years giving her things instead of time. I arrived at 11:30, 90 minutes before the guests. The AV technician met me at the side entrance and walked me through the presentation system one final time. Everything was loaded. The slides were sequenced. Both audio files were queued and ready. He showed me the remote, a small black device, 2 buttons advance and back, and I put it in my jacket pocket next to the mahogany box with the yacht keys. And I walked into the main room and stood there alone for a moment in the quiet before everything began. The flowers were white. The tables had been set with the particular care of people who did this for a living and took it seriously. 120 chairs were arranged in careful rows, facing a low wooden stage, where a microphone stand waited, and beyond the stage, the windows showed the Pacific glittering in the October sun, like it was performing for the occasion. I thought Ryan chose well. He always chose well. The guests began arriving at 1. I stood near the entrance and shook hands and smiled and said the things proud fathers say at their daughters' engagement parties. And I was aware the whole time of the weight of the remote in my left pocket and the mahogany box in my right, both of them pressing against my ribs like reminders. Ryan arrived at 1:15 in a dark navy suit, easy and luminous, with the confidence of a man who believed today was his. He found me immediately across the room with his hand extended and shook mine with that firm two-handed grip. "Charles," his eyes were bright. "How are you feeling?" "Exactly how I expected to feel," I said. He laughed because he heard what he wanted to hear. Emily came in on Ryan's arm 10 minutes later in a dress the color of deep water, and when she found me across the room, she held my gaze for exactly 1 second, with an expression that said everything and showed nothing. Then she smiled at something Ryan said and turned away, and she was perfect, composed, and warm, and completely unreadable, her mother's daughter, in every way that mattered. Victor Crane arrived at 1:40. He came alone in a charcoal suit, and he moved through the room with the unhurried ease of a man who was accustomed to being the most dangerous person in any space he occupied. He found Ryan within 3 minutes, and the exchange between them was brief. A handshake, a murmured word. Ryan nodding once with the tightness around his jaw that I recognized as relief. Crane had come to watch the moment Ryan handed me the performance of his life and received a $950,000 yacht in return. Outside, I knew 2 LAPD financial crimes detectives were in an unmarked vehicle on the service road. They had Crane's photograph. They were waiting. Marcus Webb stood near the bar, in a charcoal blazer holding a glass of sparkling water, talking to no one. He caught my eye once and gave the smallest possible nod. Linda Mitchell arrived at 1:50 and took a seat at a table near the back wall. She was dressed simply in dark blue, and she sat with her hands folded in her lap, and did not look at Ryan once. Ryan saw her when he turned to greet another guest, and I watched the muscles across his shoulders go rigid for just a moment before he recovered and looked away. He couldn't ask her to leave. He couldn't make a scene. He could only absorb the fact of her presence and trust that it meant nothing. He was wrong about that, as he was wrong about several things. The room filled. The noise rose to the pleasant collective hum of 120 people who believed they were celebrating something. Champagne moved on trays. Children ran between tables until their parents redirected them. An elderly couple I didn't recognize danced briefly to the jazz trio in the corner, and people smiled at them the way people smile at things they find hopeful. I stood at the edge of it all and watched and waited, my left hand in my jacket pocket, my thumb resting against the advance button of the remote. The wedding coordinator appeared at my elbow, a young man named Andrew, in a slim gray suit, professional and slightly breathless. "Mr. Whitmore," he said quietly, "we're ready for the toast whenever you'd like." I looked across the room at Ryan, who was laughing at something with his groomsmen, completely at ease, $950,000 away from solving every problem he had. I looked at Emily, who stood beside him with her hand in the crook of his arm, her face arranged in an expression of happiness that had cost her something significant to maintain. I looked at Linda Mitchell, sitting alone at the back table, with her hands folded, having done the hardest thing a mother can do. "Now," I said. I walked to the stage. The microphone made a soft click when I adjusted it, and that small sound was enough to pull the room toward me, the way sounds do in spaces where people are waiting for something to happen without quite knowing they're waiting. 120 faces turned in my direction. Ryan was smiling. He stood at the edge of the stage area with his arm around Emily's waist. Weight shifted onto his back foot, the posture of a man who has already decided how the next 10 minutes are going to go. Emily's hands were at her sides. Her face was arranged in warm expectation. She did not look at me. "Thank you all for being here," I said into the microphone. My voice came out even and unhurried, the voice I used in boardrooms when I needed the room to understand that what was about to happen had been thought through completely. As Emily's father, I've spent a great deal of time preparing for this moment. I reached into my left jacket pocket and closed my hand around the remote. "I want to talk about something important before we celebrate," I said. "I want to talk about what it means to truly protect the people you love, and I want to show you something." I pressed the advance button. The screen behind me, 12 feet wide, backlit and bright against the afternoon light, filled with the first slide. Mitchell Capital Ventures, Delaware registration documents. 3 years of filed annual reports showing 0 revenue, 0 employees, 0 physical address. a shell documented and displayed in clean white text on a dark background, simple enough that anyone in the room could understand it in 30 seconds. The murmuring started immediately. I let it run for 5 seconds, then pressed advance. The second slide was a financial summary. Ryan Mitchell, personal debt obligations, $2.3 million. Creditor names and amounts in a column on the left. On the right, a timeline, the debt accumulation running parallel to his relationship with Emily, month by month, starting 3 years ago and climbing steadily. Someone in the room said, "Oh my God," loudly enough to be heard. Ryan's arm dropped from Emily's waist. "The debt has a deadline," I said. 90 days from today's engagement party. I want you to understand what that means in context. I pressed advance. The third slide was a photograph Ryan and Victor Crane at a corner table in the Koreatown restaurant, taken from across the room with the particular graininess of surveillance-quality photography. Beneath it, a transcribed excerpt of the audio from that meeting. Ryan's words, "The old man will hand over the yacht. $950,000 right there. Give me until after the wedding." I pressed the button on the remote, and Ryan's actual voice filled the room. The effect was immediate and physical. People flinched, leaned back, looked at each other with the particular alarm of people who have just heard something they cannot unhear. Ryan's jaw tightened until the muscles along his cheekbones were visible from where I stood. I pressed advance before the room could fully process the previous slide, keeping the momentum not giving him time to recover. The fourth slide, the grant deed with my signature. Beside it, the forensic examiner's report. 3 paragraphs, clinical and precise, concluding in language any layperson could follow. The signature on the document submitted for analysis does not match the authenticated samples provided. The examined signature bears characteristics consistent with deliberate forgery by a skilled practitioner. Someone forged my signature. I said, on documents designed to transfer management control of $18 million worth of property. Those documents were scheduled to be filed with the Los Angeles County Recorder's Office on Monday morning. I paused for exactly 1 beat. They will not be filed? Slide 5. The email chain between Ryan and Chloe Barnes. The key passage highlighted, "She's lonely and she trusts easily. This will be easier than we thought." Emily made a sound that wasn't quite a word. Her hand came up and pressed against her sternum just below her throat, like she was checking that something was still in place. I pressed advance 1 final time. Slide 6 was the audio transcript from the recording Chloe Barnes had made 8 months ago. The highlighted section took up most of the slide. "Emily is sweet, too sweet. She'll sign whatever I put in front of her. And by the time the old man figures it out, it'll be too late." I pressed play. Ryan's voice filled the shorehouse for the second time in 3 minutes, smooth and certain, and entirely without affection. The room erupted. Not all at once, it moved through the crowd in a wave, starting at the tables closest to the screen and rolling outward, gasps and exclamations and chairs scraping back as people stood up to see better or to move away from something they didn't want to be near. A woman near the back began to cry. 3 of Ryan's groomsmen looked at each other with the blank, exposed expressions of people realizing they had been used as props. Ryan took 2 steps toward the stage. "This is fabricated." His voice had lost its ease. There was something raw and pressurized underneath it now, like a pipe with too much force behind it. "Charles, you are destroying your own daughter's happiness because you can't stand to let her go." "Ryan," I said his name at normal volume, and the room went quieter than I expected. "You had my signature forged. You owed $2.3 million to people who include the man standing 20 feet behind you in the charcoal suit." I looked past Ryan to where Crane had risen from his chair, his face a controlled and furious blank. "Mr. Crane, the detectives outside would like to speak with you." 2 LAPD financial crimes detectives came through the side door. They moved directly toward Crane with the unhurried purpose of people who had been waiting for exactly this moment. Crane assessed the room with one fast sweep of his eyes, exits distances options, and then his shoulders settled and he went with them without making a scene because men like Crane understood the arithmetic of when a situation had already been decided. 2 SEC agents came through the main entrance. One of them was carrying a manila envelope. "Mr. Mitchell," the lead agent said, stopping beside Ryan, "we have some documents for you. You'll want to have your attorney present when you review them." Ryan looked at the agents. He looked at the envelope. He looked at the screen where the words, "Emily is sweet, too sweet," were still visible in large white text. Something moved across his face. Not remorse, I didn't think, but the particular expression of a person watching a structure they built over 3 years come apart in 3 minutes, and then he turned and looked at Emily. "Emily," he started. "Don't," she said. Her voice was quiet and completely level, and it cut through the noise of the room like something sharp and clean. Her eyes were dry, her hands were at her sides. She looked at Ryan Mitchell the way you look at something you are deciding to put down and walk away from. And she did not say another word to him. Ryan Mitchell looked at Emily for a long moment after she said that single word, and I watched him make a calculation. He was not finished. I had known he wouldn't be finished. A man who had spent 3 years building something this carefully would not walk away from it after one bad 10 minutes. He still had one card. He had always had one card that the evidence couldn't touch because it wasn't about evidence. It was about Emily. He took a step toward her. The SEC agent moved to intercept, and Ryan raised one hand, calm, almost gentle, and said, "1 minute, please." And something in his voice, some remaining thread of the performance he had been giving for 3 years, made the agent hesitate just long enough. Ryan looked at Emily. His voice dropped to something quiet and direct aimed at her, and no one else but the room had gone so still that everyone heard it. "Emily!" He said her name the way he had always said it, warm, attentive, like she was the only person in any room. "6 months ago, you found a note in my jacket. You saw the building names, the numbers, the timeline. You asked me about it, and I explained it, and you chose to believe me." He paused. "You chose to believe me because some part of you already knew and didn't want to know. And that means you're not as innocent in this as your father is telling everyone you are." The room was absolutely still. "Walk away with me right now," Ryan said. "We leave together. We figure this out between us the way people who love each other figure things out. Or you stay and spend the next 2 years in depositions and courtrooms, while your father turns the worst moment of your life into a legal proceeding." He held out his hand. "Emily, come with me." I stood at the microphone and I did not move, and I did not speak, and I did not look at my daughter, because this was not my moment. I had done what I could do. Evidence and preparation and 4 days of work, that was mine. This was hers. 30 feet away, Emily stood with her hands at her sides and looked at the man who had spent 3 years learning the exact shape of her loneliness and filling it with a performance so precise she had never found the seam. 1 second. I watched her chest rise and fall with a single slow breath. 2 seconds. Her eyes moved to Ryan's outstretched hand. She looked at it the way you look at something that was once familiar and is now completely foreign, the same object, entirely different meaning. 3 seconds. Something shifted in her jaw. A small movement barely visible, the kind of thing you only catch if you have been watching someone's face for 28 years. 4 seconds. She turned her head and looked at me across the room. I looked back. I didn't nod. I didn't shake my head. I just looked at my daughter and let her see whatever she needed to see. 5 seconds. Emily turned back to Ryan. She reached out, and for one terrible half second, I thought she was going to take his hand, but instead her fingers closed around his wrist gently and completely, and she moved his hand back to his side, the way you move something that has been left somewhere it doesn't belong. "No," she said. One word, quieter than "don't," had been, more final. Ryan's face changed. The warmth drained out of it first, and underneath was something harder and older and much less carefully maintained, the face of a man who has run out of performances and is left with only himself. His jaw tightened. His eyes went flat. He looked at Emily with something that might have been genuine feeling, the only genuine feeling in 3 years, and it was not love. It was the particular fury of someone who had done everything correctly and still lost. The SEC agent put a hand on Ryan's arm. He went. The room released a breath it had been holding for the better part of a minute. People began to move, to speak, to reach for each other, the way people do when something significant has passed and they need to confirm they are still solid. A woman near the window was crying quietly into her napkin. 2 men near the bar were already on their phones. I stepped down from the stage. Linda Mitchell crossed the room from the back table. She moved through the crowd steadily, her eyes on Emily, and when she reached her, she stopped, and the two of them stood face to face for the first time. Emily looked at her. "You called my father. I owed him my husband's life," Linda said. Her voice was steady, but her chin was trembling. "And you deserve to know the truth. I'm sorry it was my son who made that necessary." Emily's composure broke then, not dramatically, Not with the violence of someone falling apart, but the way ice breaks in spring quietly and all at once, a hairline fracture becoming something real. She pressed her hand over her mouth, and her shoulders curved inward, and Linda Mitchell opened her arms, and my daughter walked into them, and Linda held her with the fierceness of a woman paying a debt she had carried for 25 years. I stood at the edge of the stage and watched. After a while, Emily pulled back from Linda and wiped her face and looked across the room at me. The guests had largely dispersed to the edges, some leaving, some staying in small clusters, nobody quite sure of the etiquette for this. The white flowers and the champagne flutes and the jazz trio that had quietly stopped playing all remained a party waiting for a celebration that wasn't going to happen. Emily crossed the room to me. Her eyes were red and her face was wet, and she was standing very straight. "Dad," she said. "I know," I said. "Can we get out of here?" "Yeah," I said. "We can." We didn't talk on the drive. Not because there was nothing to say, but because we had said the things that mattered on a dark deck above the Pacific at 2 in the morning, and what was left didn't require words yet. Emily sat in the passenger seat with her head turned slightly toward the window, watching the city move past Santa Monica, giving way to the Marina District, the afternoon light going amber and low over the rooftops, the kind of California light that makes everything look like it's in the last frame of something. I parked at the marina and we walked down to the dock without discussing it, the same way we had moved to the deck the night before, toward the thing that made the most sense without needing to name it. The yacht was where I had left it 5 days ago, on the afternoon when everything was still simple. She sat in her slip with the quiet self-possession of something expensive and well-made, the October sun catching the chrome fittings and throwing small, bright coins of light across the water around her. The name on the stern was still blank. I had never gotten around to deciding what to call her. Emily stood at the edge of the dock and looked at the boat for a long moment. Then she looked at me. "You bought this for me," she said. "I bought it because I didn't know how to say I was sorry." I stood beside her and looked at the boat too, and I tried to see it the way I had seen it 5 days ago, as an apology, as a gesture large enough to stand in for 35 years of smaller things I had failed to do. Now, it just looked like a boat. A very expensive, very beautiful boat that I had been prepared to give away to a man who was going to use it to pay off a debt to a loan shark. 35 years of missed dinners and phone calls that were 2 minutes too short. I thought maybe something with a price tag like that could say what I'd never managed to say out loud. Emily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Dad, do you remember my 12th birthday?" "I missed it," I said. "You sent a card and a check." She turned to look at me. The card said, "Sorry I can't be there, Princess, but I'm building something for us." I kept it. I have it in a box at home with the one from when I was 10. She paused. I kept all of them. Something moved through my chest that I couldn't name and didn't try to. Every year, she said, I'd read them on my birthday, not because they made me feel better, because they were honest. They were the most honest thing. You ever gave me a piece of paper that said, "I'm not there and I'm sorry, and I love you all at once," without trying to make it more than it was. She looked back at the boat. "This," she gestured toward the yacht. "This is the opposite of that. This is trying to make it more than it is." "I know," I said. "I don't want a yacht, Dad." "I know that too." She had it with her. I saw it in her hand before she spoke. The small square of notebook paper folded and refolded until the creases had gone soft. She was holding it the way you hold something that has become more valuable than it has any right to be. "I've had it in my pocket since last night," she said. "I didn't want to put it down." She unfolded it, read it once the way she had read it the night before, then folded it back along the same worn lines and held it out to me. I shook my head. "Keep it," I said. "It was always yours." She closed her hand around it and looked back at the water. She pressed it into my palm without a word. I closed my hand around it, that small square of notebook paper lighter than anything worth this much had any right to be, and I held it the way you hold something you almost lost and didn't. I didn't read it again. I already knew every word. What I hadn't known until this week was how long she had been waiting for me to hear them. I had not come home for dinner. I did not remember where I had been that night. What deal, what site, what meeting had seemed important enough to miss the 10th birthday of my only child? Whatever it was gone. The dinner was gone. But the card was here, soft with 20 years of handling, held now by both of us, at the end of a day that had asked more of her than any day should. "You kept it," I said. "Of course I kept it," she said. Her voice was thick but steady. "It's the only birthday wish I ever truly wanted from you," she said. "And I wrote it when I was 10 years old, because I didn't know how else to say it. I didn't have anything to say to that, which was fine, because some things don't need a response. They just need to be heard." We sat down on the dock, not on the boat, just on the dock itself, legs hanging over the edge, the water dark and moving below us. And the sun kept going down, the way it does in October, unhurried and extravagant, painting the sky in colors that had no practical purpose except to be beautiful. After a while, Emily said, "You heard Frank 25 years ago," she said, "in the dark under all that debris, and you went back in." She kept her eyes on the water. "Today you heard me." I put my arm around my daughter and looked out at the marina, at the boats rocking gently in their slips, at the sky going from gold to pink to the deep bruised purple that comes just before dark. The yacht sat in the water in front of us, unnamed and waiting, worth $950,000 and worth considerably less than the piece of paper in my hand. "What do you want to do with the boat?" Emily asked after a while. I thought about it. "I don't know yet. Give it away, maybe. Find someone who needs it more than we do." "Frank Mitchell always wanted to learn to sail," she said. I looked at her. She was looking at the water, but the corner of her mouth had lifted just slightly, the way it did when she had said something she was proud of. I laughed. It came out surprised and real, and it had been a long time since I had laughed that way. Not the polished laugh I used in meetings, but the one that happened before you could decide whether it was appropriate. Emily heard it and laughed too. And for a little while we sat on that dock in the last light of a very long day and laughed at something that wasn't entirely funny, which is sometimes the only honest response to the things that happen to you. The sky went dark. The marina lights came on one by one, reflecting in the water below our feet. "Hey, Dad." "Yeah?" "Next time, just come home for dinner." I tightened my arm around her shoulders. "Yeah," I said. "I will. That's my family story, and I hope it stays with you. I spent 35 years building an empire and nearly handed it to a man who saw my daughter as a doorway. But the harder truth he walked through a door, I left open. I was absent long enough that someone could fill my place, and my daughter was lonely enough to let him. Don't be like me. Don't wait for a crisis to show up for the people you love. They're not asking for yachts. They're asking for dinner. They're asking to hear your voice before it's almost too late." I believe God put Linda Mitchell in my path that afternoon, because I wasn't going to find my way back to Emily without help. That phone call saved more than my assets. It saved us. Family betrayal rarely looks like a villain. It looks like someone who shakes your hand warmly and learns your signature. If this family story taught me anything, it's that the most dangerous threats come dressed in trust. Guard your heart as carefully as your name. Family betrayal leaves scars, but it doesn't have to leave you broken. If this story moved you, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you never miss what comes next. These stories exist because of you. Thank you for staying until the very end. Stories on this channel include fictionalized elements built for reflection and education. If that's not for you, no judgment. Choose what serves you. But if you're staying, there's always another story worth telling.